With me tonight is Rob Bariess, and he's going to talk about Bike New London, which I just realized doing a little bit of research this afternoon is 10 years old. And I have not been involved in it recently, but I was a little bit at the beginning, and you've come a long way.
Thank you, Ron. It's happy to be here tonight. Thanks for having me back. So as a matter of fact, I just realized also this week that Bike New London is 10 years old. We formed in early 2009, and we formed out of a great group of folks who were interested in making New London a better place to bike, a safer place to bike, and expanding the access to bicycling to all people in the city, in the region, regardless of their income. So we've done a lot of different programs, and trying to put forth a better place for cycling in the area.
And I know one of the early things that Bike New London did was get bicycle lanes on Montauk Avenue.
Right, yeah, we were successful in that with the city in 2011. We went to the city council, and we were able to get the bike lanes included in the rebuild project for Montauk Avenue. There were two phases to that, and these days now it's all complete, and I'm very happy every time I walk or ride or drive down there and I see people using the bike lanes, and I'm like, yay, we made that happen.
Well, I live near the hospital, and so if ever crossing Bank Street, that's a whole other challenge that remains.
Right.
But from where I live, going, getting to Bank Street, getting to downtown is so much better than it was, more than 8 years ago.
The city and the DOT's collaboration on how to install bike lanes, and the adoption by the DOT of complete streets policies has really helped when a project like that is done. We're hoping to see some more bike lanes coming to the city very soon. Ocean Avenue is one. William Street is another location. And of course, it's legal to bicycle everywhere that cars can go, except for restricted access highways. A lot of folks don't seem to understand that, or not fully understand what that means. The state has done two share the road initiatives since 2008, when the first 3-foot law came into effect, which requires motorists to maintain a safe distance from anyone bicycling or walking along the street. It was really pushed for safe cycling. That was the impetus behind it. But that is the law in the state. It's always better to bicycle in protected lanes. And the lanes we have on Montauk, I think we're going to see more of those open up locally in New London and in the region. I know Old Lyme is also working on some bike lanes.
It's
bike
been
routes.
a real progress, I think, on the part of DOT to be looking at complete streets and not just giving all this public real estate over to the automobile at the expense of...
As always in this state, I think it comes down to money. If in a perfect world, I think they would put them everywhere. I think they'd put bike lanes everywhere. We're seeing big cities turning, making huge projects of bike lanes. New York City is a shining star in that.
Yeah.
They've done miles and miles of bike lanes and carved out the real estate. They found the urban real estate to do it. It's not always easy in New London. The Bank Street project, where it went from 2 lanes of one-way traffic to 1 lane with some space for cyclists, is an example. It's a step. To be honest with you, I was a little skeptical of it when it was proposed.
The idea of having a sharrow?
Yeah, well, the implementation was good, and the street is so much safer for everybody. You don't have to worry about hitting another person stepping out of their car, or the crosswalks are safer. Everything is safer along Bank Street. I realize some folks may find it a slower commute, but slower is safer. And in downtown, New London, you don't need to speed. You can go a bicycle speed and get to where you're going.
And sometimes I think if people really time the whole commute, going slowly but at a constant rate isn't really that much more time consuming than speeding up and then stopping
Absolutely.
at a light and speeding up and
Yep.
stopping at a light. And at least one stop sign was removed as part of that process.
Yep, that was, they took out the stop signs at Bank and Golden. And, just improving the flow of traffic like that, I mean, I think that eliminates a lot of potential for accidents. The rear enders that happen around here. I mean, I know that our just from speaking to our local emergency services folks, there are thousands of accidents in the region every year, and in New London, and a lot of them, so many of them involve rear ending, at either sudden stops or at intersections, and you've eliminated that. So, it makes it safer for the bicyclists. It makes it safer for the drivers. So I'm in favor of more projects like that. I hope that happens.
I do too. I'm still, not holding my breath, but waiting for Howard Street to be turned into a complete street, because it's sort of a peeve of mine. I drive on it a lot, and
yeah.
people drive really fast.
Howard Street, was built to be access to, the Fort Trumbull area, the Pequot Avenue area. It was built in a time. It was finished as we see it now, about 1977. So we've had some 40 years of experience with the traffic there, and it was identified a few years ago as being the biggest challenge in New London for traffic, and particularly for bicycle and pedestrian access. It's not a real safe street for cyclists, and I think we want to encourage folks. There's just now 3,000 people working at EB in New London, which is more than have been in that area in a very long time, and it would be nice for their commute to be safer, and the folks who do, EB does have a very active cycling club, folks that ride some year-round and some in the nicer weather, and a lot of them choose alternate routes to Howard Street. I know myself, sometimes I lead group rides, and I avoid that area, or I take folks through it in a way that they won't have traffic conflicts. Just looking out for myself and everybody behind me if I'm leading a ride.
Well, I am hopeful, cautiously optimistic perhaps, that when the Parcel J apartments are built, that the city will look at that whole area to try to make it more pedestrian and bicycling friendly, because the purpose of having housing there was to serve people who work at EB or who work at the hospital, who don't want to worry about parking, who can just walk or bike to work.
It's a great opportunity. That corner is so busy, and we have a big new development opening there, and they have the opportunity to change traffic patterns for the better. If they whether they widen the road or add a bike lane to it, or just reconfigure the sidewalks into some sort of biking, walking trail. There's folks working with UConn. They studied the area, and our city planner, they're working on making a trail, figuring out a place along there for a trail to connect downtown to Fort Trumbull. And I think it's a crucial piece of infrastructure that we're not missing it right now. It's not non-existent, but people don't feel safe riding through there, and it's largely due to the traffic volume and the fact that the area is really designed to accommodate cars and only cars.
And that's, I think, has been detrimental to the downtown of New London, that it's lost its connection, a convenient connection, both north to Hodges Square and south to the residential areas of the hospital and southward.
You end up with conflicts, because it starts to seem like a war between pedestrians and cyclists and motorists, and it shouldn't be. It should be we all go together.
Right.
And it's better for everybody if the street design lends itself to safer travel for both the cars. No driver wants to hit a bicyclist. No bicyclist wants to be hit by a car.
Right.
The bicyclist, of course, always comes out on the losing end of any kind of conflict like that. But we have a chance right now, in the next year or two, as this development unfolds, to really do something better on Howard Street. I know it's being looked at. I'm like you, cautiously optimistic that we're going to do something really good there and end up with a nice multi-use trail of some sort that connects the downtown area.
Now, after having a Bike New London bike shop in downtown for how many years?
We
6 or
were
7?
getting back to Bike New London's history, we did events from 2009 and specific things that we participated in, like we helped with Earth Day at the hospital and at Fiddleheads, and we did an annual bike fest for several years with contests and bike shows and all sorts of fun things to do, free bike helmets and that kind of thing. And then in 2014, we had a really unique opportunity we couldn't turn down, and we gained the use of a storefront on State Street in the Duarte building, and we were there for 5 seasons. We started out with a 90-day idea, and we turned that into 1 year and 2 years and 3 years, and we just moved out of the State Street space at the end of this year, so around November, and we found a new location in Hodges Square. So we're at 399 William Street now, and we're just about to reopen the community bike shop, doing the same things, working on bicycles for people, and refurbishing bikes and selling them. The bikes that we have are mostly donated. They either come to us from private donations or through bike drives, usually, and organizations like the city police or fire departments sometimes collect a good number of bicycles, and we take the good ones and we put them back on the road. So we do make some of those bikes available for folks of any income level. So we have probably put somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 bikes back on the road.
Wow.
In the time that we've been
I'm
open.
not surprised. There was one summer that kids from the Drop-In Learning Center were working on a project at Riverside Park. I think it was 2013. And through Bike New London, those kids, they were elementary school students, 2nd through 5th grade, I think, and they all learned how to ride bikes. They all got bikes that they could use, and they were riding from the Second Congregational Church site to Riverside Park with, they got helmets through Kiwanis and bikes through Bike New London, and it was fantastic. I'm sure it was a real high point for most of those students to be, biking and then working on gardens and then having a picnic and then biking back.
And forgive me, any organization that I forget to mention, that we've had so many partners through the years. We've had Hodges Square Village Association, we've had the Riverside Park, we've had Fresh New London, Ledge Light Health District, the city police. The Kiwanis has been so helpful to us for all the years that we've been either doing events or having the bike shop. They've provided, I don't even know, I can't even put a number on how many helmets they've provided for kids at no cost, and they're really
many thousands.
It's thousands in just in New London.
Yeah, when they've come to the Riverside festivals, they typically will give out close to 100 in that day.
Yep.
And I'm guessing when you had your bike fest events, There were similar numbers.
Yeah, there are hundreds. I mean, they go through cases, boxes of helmets for the kids, and they also provide a fitting, kind of an instructional fitting, make sure that it fits the child's head properly, that they're wearing it properly, because a lot of people don't know that. There are correct ways to have it fit your head and for the straps to go under your chin, and you're so much safer with a helmet on. And it's also the law for kids up to 16 that they ride with a helmet if they're riding. It has to be it's required on public streets. So if you're young enough that you're staying on the sidewalk, it isn't a legal requirement, but it's a good idea for all kids.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to get in
Any
the
kid
habit
riding in the
of.
street, any kid riding on the roads around here should have a helmet, because it makes a difference between life and death. It really does. It's absolutely essential. There are other things you can do. You can have riding gloves, and you should ride with good shoes. You shouldn't ride with bare feet or sandals or anything that could flip-flops. I see that a lot. It's not a safe way to ride a bike. We try to talk to everybody who comes in about that to make sure that they know what they're doing on a bike. And we also talk about proper rules of the road. The concept that I found so simple and so that sums up the bicycle safety so perfectly, I learned from the League of American Bicyclists. And it's simply to think of yourself as a bicycle driver. It changes the dialogue. You are not someone on a bike. You're a bicycle driver. And the other way I think about it is, if that thing had a motor, if it had an electric motor or a gas engine on it, which you see now hundreds of these around, it's still a bicycle, but you should drive it like a car. You should drive it the way you do. You stay to the right, you signal your turns, you wait at traffic lights, you don't go flying through things, you don't go up on the sidewalk, you ride it like an adult. And it can be a little bit of a difficult concept to get across to a kid who's used to riding whenever, wherever, in and out of traffic. But we always try to promote the rules of the road to everybody who comes to Bike New London.
I think for drivers, it's a lot easier as well if bicyclists rode their bikes in a predictable manner, which does not always happen.
I worry myself when I'm driving that here I am, very involved in safety and in working on bicycles, and I even know so many of the people that I see are out riding, and I always worry that I could be the one who hits somebody going the wrong way or coming out of a driveway and who isn't looking. And that thought terrifies me. The person, there's a responsibility on both sides. The drivers need to give bicyclists space. The bicyclists need to behave predictably. And we always promote that. People ask me, again, when we do group rides, why are we stopping at the lights? We're stopping at the lights so we don't get killed. And because it's the right thing to do. One thing that is a legitimate concern when you're riding, and this doesn't come up in all the discussions, many bicycles will not trigger a traffic light to turn in your direction. So in some cases, if it's handy, you can press a walk button, but they don't all have that either. So they don't all sense a bicycle approaching the light. And if it's a busy street where there's also car traffic going along with you, the cars will trigger the light, and eventually you'll be able to go. But people ask, well, why would you continue on a red light? Well, if it's not busy, it may not change.
Yeah.
And several states have adopted a new approach to that, and it's named after the first place to adopt it. It's called Idaho Stop Law. And it does allow, actually, under that law, it does allow bicyclists to continue. Connecticut has considered it. It's not law here yet, but it allows a bicycle to slowly roll when it's safe, roll through a stop sign so you don't have to dismount or unclip from your pedals, or to continue after stopping at a red light without waiting for the light to change. So it's it's kind of a gray area. Each state has to consider it and consider whether it's right for their communities to say that that's safe to do. But it is a national thing. Many states have considered. I know, I can't remember which state it was, but one state just adopted in the last month or two Idaho's stop law, and it's a discussion. If you'll be surprised how much talk there is about it.
Wow. Well, I'm glad to hear that there's a lot of talk in a way, because, bicycling connects with so many other things. We're talking, about people getting electric cars and how to reduce your footprint. And here we are, and we live in a city where, like, if you go from Ocean Beach to Conn College, it's maybe, 6 miles
Right.
from end to end.
Yep.
So
That's about right.
we could really take advantage of this, of the compact footprint of our city, to make it really walkable and bicycle, and not necessarily get an electric car, just get out of our cars altogether.
Sure. One exciting thing that's happening in New London this year is that we are getting a bike share system. The operators of Bike New Haven are coming to New London, and at this point I believe they have 6 stations planned for various
cool.
docking locations around the city. They aren't a Lime bike type of operation where the bikes themselves have the locks on them and they're being left all over the city. I think it's a good program for New London to have these bike racks of available bicycles in multiple locations. You have to sign up through their service, and it will unlock one for you. It's the same kind of thing as the city bikes in New York and the bikes in Boston.
We were in
which have been-
Philadelphia recently and saw the racks
Virtually
of the bikes
every
as well.
big city has at least one system working, and what has just happened in the last few years is that these dockless bike shares have shown up, and Hartford had kind of a trial and a bad experience with it. They had a company that just came in and sort of scattered bicycles around the city, and many of them were abused or damaged, and then they pulled out really quick. I don't think they even gave it a year. So I don't know that they have really enough data to say whether it's a good thing or not. But it was abused somewhat while it was in service. I think if it was more region-wide, where you could take the bikes, outside of the city. I mean, I see them mostly in large cities where you could probably ride all day and never leave the city.
Right.
But in New London, like you say, it's only 6 square miles. So you're going to go to Waterford. You might go over the bridge to Groton. It's
Right.
only 1.5 miles each way. So it's it's the kind of thing where it might be better for an operator to come in and offer a region-wide bike share. Maybe even going all the way down to Mystic or over to Old Lyme or something like that. New London County really isn't that big, so you could have a system that works. They all have GPS tracking. They know where every bike is. So I think it could work. I'm looking forward to this summer to seeing the new bike share bikes come in, and we'll see how that program operates.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see it. I'm guessing that bikes will be able to be picked up where people get off trains and ferries.
One location is downtown at the area of the train station and parking garage. I'm not sure exactly where the bike racks will be located. I'm still waiting to see a detailed list of that, but there were 6 locations planned, and we were in contact with the company when they first announced it. So looking forward to a little more information as the year progresses. It's almost spring, so they should be moving ahead with that very soon.
Now, since you're in Hodges Square, what kind of facilities do you have in Hodges Square compared to what you had in downtown? Are people going to find about the same thing, or can you offer a little more?
So the location, as far as the location goes, I think it's an outstanding location for a bike shop. We're right in the middle. Our location is it's literally the center of Hodges Square. It's in the building that says Hodges Square Shopping Center. When you come to it, it's a big brick building. It says Hodges Square across the top. And the location includes really the whole northern gateway to New London. If you're coming in from Route 395, 32, or getting off of I-95 on two of the major exits into town, you'll come by our shop. You're only 100 yards away from it. So, and what I think is even cooler than that is right out our front doors, we are literally looking at the bike lane on the Gold Star Bridge. It's right above us, right in front of us. So any cyclist coming through there will see our shop, and if they need some air, or they want to stop in and ask about a tune-up or something like that, we'll be happy to help them. To that end, we're not open yet. Our grand opening is the end of this month, so March 31st is our grand opening
so
day.
that's a Sunday.
It is Sunday the 31st.
So maybe hold up our.
Which way should I go?
He'll figure it out. From 12 to 5.
There we go. Yeah, so Sunday, come join us Sunday at noon next weekend, and we'll be showing off the new facilities and our new repair facilities in the shop. We've built a brand new bike shop in this storefront, and one of the things the folks, the volunteers who work with me, are very happy about it. We have much better part storage and lighting and all that kind of thing. The facility we had before was okay for a quick, what we called a pop-up bike shop as it was started, but this is a little bit more deliberate and a little bit more planned, and we're extremely happy with the location. We will have the Whale bike rack, if you remember from
the one that's
from downtown.
Yeah.
Earlier, it was on Bank Street last. That will be coming to our location, and it'll be right out front.
Oh yeah, wow, that kind of connects with like the old Bike New London work from 10 years ago.
It
almost.
does, yeah, and our neighborhood group had a hand in getting that made. One of the blacksmith artists who worked and lived at the Hygienic built that a few years ago. So it's getting moved to that location and
That's fantastic.
anchored down to the sidewalk there. So we'll have a really, not just a bike rack, but a really cool bike rack out front. So we have space for the bicycles that are available for sale out front, and then we have shop space towards the back of the shop. Stop by. It's a very nice facility.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting. When the first thoughts, like maybe in about 2012 or maybe a little before that, of how to connect the college areas with the downtown were being discussed, and no one knew that whether there would be any action on it really, or any money towards it, but it was sort of a wish list. One of the first things that people said they wanted to see in Hodges Square was a bike shop, and because of the connection with people, going over to Groton on the bridge
Sure.
there, it was just a natural stopping point, and it could be not necessarily a major destination, but a minor destination for
Right.
anyone on a bike or on their feet who
If,
would.
if you're bicycling, whether you're coming to New London or whether you're just riding through, when you cross the bridge from Groton, when you cross the Gold Star Bridge, your only option is to come into Hodges Square. So it's a good place to be. The city is working on it's a $500,000 to $700,000 project improving the street this summer, and it's reportedly, I haven't seen the final plans, but it will include bike lanes. We actually talked to the architect a couple years ago when the very beginning stages of planning were going on, and include some better signage that tells you where to access the bike lane to the bridge and where to go from the bike lane when you leave it, or if you ride in from the north, either entering the city on Route 32 or on Old Norwich Road, any of the northern routes. They all come together right at Hodges Square, and the access to downtown, all connects through there.
It's really close to downtown.
It is very close. It is very close, but it isn't very friendly for people who may not know the area. You come in there and you see a tangle of highway bridges, and the signage is, there's kind of like one sign over here, one sign over there, and it isn't really, there's nothing to draw you in one direction or another.
That's very true.
And there are some neat landmarks around there. You've got the old mill, you've got Riverside Park. If anyone is coming to Conn College or Coast Guard Academy that way, they're going to go right through William Street, right through that area. So you do have a tremendous traffic volume going into the city and out of the city through that location. One of the for cyclists, I think one of the best things is that the city has just paved a route, a sidewalk route along Water Street. It was neglected for so many years, but you can actually get from the bus station to William Street or State Pier Road without being in traffic now.
And traffic does move very quickly.
Traffic moves quickly
along there.
and we're kind of stuck with this 1970s planning where they didn't leave any space for anything but cars. And we get right back to the same problem of where do you find room for your infrastructure and where do you find cycling lanes. The planning that was done when these roads were built was just kind of dumped on the city in the 60s and 70s. They knocked things down, they built new highways, and the state said, okay, we're done. You're stuck with it. And many of those roads haven't been changed in 40 years. And it's very cycling unfriendly in some locations.
It is, and pedestrian unfriendly.
Pedestrian
in many
unfriendly.
of them,
Yep.
even where there are sidewalks, there isn't always shade, for
Right.
example.
Right.
Well, I had looked up and seen that New London recently received a connectivity grant from Connecticut DOT,
Right.
and that's for work, Governor Winthrop, Water Street, Ferry Street. So I'm wondering if that might help partly be used to make things friendlier there. I know there have been some street reconfiguration ideas, making Green Street, two-way. And
Oh yeah,
I don't know
I'm
quite how.
interested. Yeah, I'm interested to see what the plans are and what the road configuration, how it might change. As we all know, I mean, these streets handle a huge traffic volume
They do.
at rush hours, coming in and out of the city. They were built with that purpose in mind. The Route 32 is expressway sized
It
through
is.
the area, and it dumps into our tiny little streets. And on the incoming side, people expect to be going 60 miles an hour, until they absolutely have to stop. On the outgoing side, they can't wait until they're going 60 miles an hour again. So it is a location where you really want to have separated bike lanes, protected pedestrian crosswalks,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. What's been done so far to date, the rebuild of the parade several years ago, tremendous steps in the right direction. It made the area much more accessible. It made it someplace that people want to go, which is a huge change from, say, 20 years
Right.
ago. And our waterfront park and City Pier, those are great locations to just walk around on a summer day, or to ride down to them. The connecting those to the rest of the city seems like the perennial challenge, and you also have a tremendous tourist traffic in the summer. You have the parking garage and the ferry docks, as well as Fisher's Island docks being used heavily. And, so all of that attraction for traffic, bicycles and pedestrians have been a little bit of a second thought, and I'm interested to see how the new planning. Again, the state has adopted a complete streets policy, and they've been doing planning with that in mind for several years, and I'm hoping that that sort of gets ingrained in everything they do, and it's not just we're doing it because the traffic funds say you have to spend 1%
Right.
on that. I'm hoping they say, listen, let's do 5%, or let's just plan with that in as part of the infrastructure right from the beginning, and then we're not trying to squeeze it in; it's built in.
Yeah.
And it's better for everybody. It's better for the people who are who are trying to use our transportation center, whether it's buses or trains or ferry boats or or
Yeah,
just
come summer, we'll have the water taxi as well. So-
that's right. Yeah, we'll have the water taxi. Those folks are really nice. They do accommodate bicycles, at least when they have room for them. I've never seen them be too busy to accommodate bikes, except maybe during SailFest. But they are a way to get your bike across the river without having to ride over the Gold Star Bridge. Speaking of that, the Gold Star Bridge bike lane has been cleaned up some from last year. They did have it closed for
it was like,
3 months, maybe 4 months earlier this year. Or
yeah, I
late
have
last
not
year.
been over the bridge since, so how is
It-
it?
It's okay. It's mostly unchanged. There are a couple of spots where they've installed new sign stanchions that intrude a bit more onto the lane, and they did what they could with the existing infrastructure to make it as good as a bad idea can be. I guess they took up some real estate on the bicycle lane side. You do have to be careful. It's not a spot that two can pass for certain. The same rules are always going to apply. If you're a bicyclist who's maybe coming downhill at a faster speed, they're going to have to slow down and everyone step to the side and accommodate each other. The spaces where the new concrete work was done, they are a bit tight. I don't know that you could fit a trike or a bike trailer over the bridge. I have heard that the rebuild of the Gold Star Bridge northbound, which is imminent in the next year or two, will include a real bike lane, an actual full-size two-way bike lane in it.
Which it's never had before.
It never had a bike lane on that.
That's the older span.
It's the older bridge. It was rebuilt in about 1975, right after the what is now the southbound span opened, and it was redecked and rebuilt. Then it's getting completely torn down, as far as I understand, and rebuilt top to bottom here in the next, I want to say 3 years. It's a long-term project for DOT, and it's something like $1 billion project. But from what I've heard, they're going to do it right, and they're going to include that, accommodate bikes like that. You look at the other huge bridge projects that are going on right now. Tappan Zee Bridge just opened their second span, and it includes pedestrian lanes. So it's much better, much safer than the old bridges.
Sure, New Haven.
I'm
Boy,
hopeful.
the new Q Bridge is so much better than the old one.
Yeah. So when they do these big projects, they have this one opportunity to do it right, and it's encouraging to see that they are thinking in the right direction, at least from what I've seen so far.
Oh,
So
good. I'm
looking forward
glad
to
that there's some cautious optimism there. So what else is happening in Hodges Square, other than, in addition to your bike shop opening, you have a cleanup event
Oh, so that's right. Yeah,
this weekend.
This weekend. So coming up, March 23rd, Saturday, at 10 a.m. We're doing so this is our first attempt to give back to the community in our new location, and we will be doing a cleanup day. And the kind of cool thing is that we planned this several months ago, and what's happened on the internet is that a new hashtag called trash tag has appeared, and people are doing these cleanup efforts all around the country under that name, and it's gone viral all around the country. These cleanups. So
you were just ahead of the curve.
Yeah, we were like, wow, we were really forward thinking. So I will attach that trash tag to everything I put on there. But yeah, so we identified places around the area that I think they've probably been neglected for a long time. A lot of it is you could call it no man's land. It's probably state-owned land. Some of it is leased by the city or actually city property. But when you get up by the highways, state DOT, they plow the roads, they fix the potholes eventually, and they put up signs. They don't do much for cleanup. The guys are always busy, We are planning, and a lot of these are state roads, so even if they're not numbered, like Route 32, Route 390, 95.
And William Street is a state road down.
It is a state road.
Down as far as
I believe
maybe
to Huntington. Yeah. So there are a lot of these roads in New London are state roads that just don't have a published number, and the state takes care of them, and the plows do go through them in the winter. But you don't know that because it doesn't say it's Route 634 or 647 or something. But a lot of these roads are. Again, they don't get the attention that you would want in front of your own driveway. So we're doing a big cleanup day. We're providing gloves, trash bags, and free pizza at the end of it at noon at the bike shop. So it'll be kind of an opening day before the opening day, where we welcome the community to work with us and make the whole area cleaner. Big thing that we see along there is there's tons of food and beverage litter, bottles, cans, waste papers and things like that. So even though there are some public trash cans in the area, it just gets neglected, especially end of the winter, when stuff's been sort of plowed to the sides. It needs a really good cleanup. So.
And I know before the show we were talking about the woes of cleaning up and finding bottles. Plastic is really a lot in the news. I think I read today that San Francisco is the first city that's banning plastic bottles.
I was just hearing on the radio on the way over here, we were discussing the recycling situation nationally and regionally, and a lot of towns don't even know what to do with plastic recycling waste. So, it ties in with, cycling is being better for the environment than other forms of travel, and we care about the area that we're in, and we want it to be cleaned up. The main business that in Hodges Square, is a package store. So yeah. We work with the owner there to try to keep the area neat in front of the store and everything. So we were just inspired by that to do to broaden that out to all the roads around the area and do a major cleanup.
Well, I think the Hodges Square area and Riverside Park and that whole part of the city was kind of a no man's land for close to 50 years, I guess, from about 1970 to maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see it getting more attention on so many fronts.
Yeah. So our sister organization under the same nonprofit that we're under, Thames Valley Sustainable Connections, the Hodges Square Village Association is working on the same goals that we are as far as cleaning up the area, and I think they will have a headquarters soon in the same building, actually.
That would be great to see, because I know part of the purpose of the Hodges Square Village Association is to create a viable neighborhood business zone that's
Yes.
also a pleasant place to pass through, so that if students or cadets want to go downtown, it doesn't seem so daunting to walk or bike.
Right. Even the name Hodges Square, it's kind of a vestige of an earlier time, because the square itself has kind of been cut off into a line. One whole side of it of the historic location is missing there. But that spot was Main Street. That was North Main Street, coming right out of the city. And then as now, was a focal point for traffic. It may have been horse-drawn buggies back in the day, but it was the major entrance into the city. And the highway projects years ago cut up the neighborhood and sort of left the survivors to fend for themselves. So much of the area was cut off from the rest of the city. And you're right, it does feel like a no man's land. When you drive along William Street, there's a big section of nothing. And I guess I'm happy to be part of revitalizing that, bringing it back. It's great for people to see a working business there. And so many folks have already told me, a bike shop in that spot it's a great idea.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So I'm very optimistic about what this year is going to bring.
So I'm thinking that after the grand opening on the 31st of the month, starting April, you'll have some kind of regular hours?
Yes. Yes. So we, at our old shop, we were always open 3 days a week. And we're small people who don't know what we do. We're a completely volunteer organization. None of us get paid a penny for what we do. But the shop has always been open one weekday, one weeknight, and one weekend day throughout the summer. And we're going to add Saturdays to that. So we'll be open Tuesdays 1 to 5, Sundays 1 to 5, Saturday will be probably our long day. We're still nailing down the hours, but it'll be at this point noon to 6 on Saturdays, and Thursday evenings from 5 to 8. We'll probably also have Fridays reserved for classes in-house. So we're going to have various classes to teach people. We have a program called Movers, which is member-owner volunteers, and for $60 annual dues, people can join us and take various class subject matter related to bicycles. It's a 2-hour evening. It's a 1 hour of discussion and a 1 hour of hands-on do-it-yourself. Learn what you've apply what you've learned. It's from simple things like changing a tire to replacing a chain, adjusting your brakes. Just single subject. One class a month throughout the spring and summer.
So I was going to ask you what people can do to help support this effort. And since you're an all-volunteer group, I'm guessing volunteers would be something that would be helpful.
Volunteers, yeah, we can use volunteers. They don't have to necessarily know how to work on bikes. We can teach them anything that they feel that they're capable of doing, from simple work to more advanced stuff. I've had volunteers who had years of experience at bike shops, come and work with us for short term or long term, or just 1 day a month, that kind of thing. All kinds of opportunities to join us, and at the same time, also people who maybe don't want to learn, or maybe just want to drop off a bike, have it fixed, and get it back, or buy one of the refurbished bikes that we have. We have all kinds of opportunities.
Now, do you need donations of money, of bikes, of parts, of?
At this point, we're not asking for bicycle donations. We have a full house right now, but we will consider any kind of mountain bikes or road bikes coming in. I do have, to be perfectly honest, I have way too many little kids' bikes. They get turned over in pretty poor condition rather often. So
So you
I'm
don't
afraid I
need
don't need any
little-
of those right now. But,
Oh, I wish
but we
I
do
thought
need,
of-
but we do have a big need for commuter type bicycles, just everyday bicycles that folks can ride to work, and for pleasure. So we do accept those adult bikes like that, and we do always need monetary donations. You know, we do have to keep the lights on and pay insurance and that kind of thing. So
And I'm guessing
yes.
buy parts as well.
We do. We buy quite a lot of parts, you know, new parts throughout the year. So, you know, we do our best to keep repairs at at the lowest possible price, and to work with folks. You know, we understand that it's not easy for a lot of people out there to, you know, either to work on their bikes themselves in their own house. They may not even have a space in their apartment or home to work on their bike themselves. And you know, so we do offer on Thursday evenings, we do offer the opportunity to come down and work on your own bike under our supervision.
Oh.
You can bring your bike in, put it on our racks, and use our tools to do services that you maybe wouldn't be able to do at home.
Now, in the last 1 minute we have, you had mentioned that this year you're bringing back Bike Fests. So
Yes,
I know it's
yes.
sort of in the future, but so we
Yeah,
know
well,
what to
it's that
expect.
future's coming quick. So it's Sunday, September 15th. We will be having a Bike Fest including a swap meet, and we're using the DOT parking area under the bridge, and we have vendors and free helmets with our partners at Kiwanis. And yeah, there'll be a fun day, all bicycles all day long. Sunday, September 15th.
That sounds great. And more recently, this Saturday, the cleanup.
The cleanup.
And my guess is there might be some periodic cleanups
This
as the
is
summer
the
goes
first
along.
one that we were doing. So.
And the grand opening on the 31st.
Yes.
So I'm guessing in April, you'll start
Yep.
having some regular hours. We'll show this quickly, and then we're just about out of time. Next week, our show is going to be not live, but it will be about the Medicare for All effort. Joanna Heller and June Merriweather are going to be on the show to talk about the need for universal health care. So we'll see you there. And thank you, Rob. I hope to get to the cleanup on Saturday.
Thank you, Ronna, for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again. It was fun, and I'm always glad to see progress being made in bicycling in New London.
It's going to be a good year.
I hope so.
Tuimbe Afrika, tuimbe Afrika, tuimbe Afrika, nimpenda mzuri sana. Tuimbe Afrika, tuimbe Afrika, tuimbe Afrika, ninakupenda sana. Oh, Mwimbe Africa, Mwimbe Africa.